Not sure if I was muted just now when I spoke, but I was just saying hi, everybody. And we're early still, but people are streaming in. Hey, Carrie, Viviana. Okay, looks like we'll have a big meeting today.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes, great. Sorry I'm a little bit late. We're having some internet challenges at the co-op today. Okay, I'll give us like another 2 minutes. There's a lot on the call already. We need like 1 minute and we'll get started. We'll just open the agenda. Okay. Woohoo. Okay. Look at everybody's faces. Hi. Well, it looks like we're holding strong at 23. I think I'll just get us started in the honoring of time. I'm Melissa. For those that don't know me, I'm the co-op's general manager, and I'm one of the co-facilitators of our Ivcn. We like to start our meetings with land acknowledgement, and so for those newer to the CN, historically the second Thursday of the month is when we would do our monthly meeting, and this meeting we which was Diana and I met as co-facilitators, and decided that maybe it would feel nice on the second Thursday of the month to go back to our old formatting of the agenda. I alluded to it in the update that I sent out for today. And so part of that, over the course of the last year, we integrated a land acknowledgement into the meetings, and not having the agenda actually, we didn't do the acknowledgement every week during our COVID, and so it feels nice to have it in front of us. So I do want to open the meeting with our welcome and land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Chumash people and pay our respects to elders both past and present. We honor the traditional territory as well as story and contributions of the Chumash people to the land upon which we gather and create. It always feels really important, even now in Zoom times when we're not here together, to remember that this is something that binds us together on this land, and knowing that there's richness in that, I think, is important at a time when we have to be so separate. So moving from there, and hopefully you got the email that I sent out last night with the agenda. If you're not on that email list, please, you can put your email in the chat, or you can email ilovistacommunitynetwork@gmail.com and I'll add you to the email list. We send out meeting reminders and we put the agenda in there ahead. And in the interest of this agenda, right on time, actually at 12:05, we'll move into introductions and quick announcements. If you have a quick announcement, we have over 20 people on the call. Try to keep it at like less than 30 seconds, and then we'll move into the rest of the meeting. So I'm just going to go down the list from the chat panel. It's alphabetical-ish, starting with Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jonathan. I'm the general manager for the Community Services District, and I don't think we have any major announcements. It's been a while since I had a meeting for the CSD.
Okay. Next, I have Abraham.
My name is Abraham, and I'm the external chair for Ivcn, and this is my first meeting. I'm not sure what to say.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you so much for calling in. Usually during quick announcements, and it's usually exactly what you said, what your name is, where you're calling from, and then if your organization has an update that you feel like you want to get out to the network, or if you have an event coming up or something that you want shared more widely, it's a great time to talk in quick announcements. And then if you have things that CRC is working on in the moving forward, you can email us if you want a little more time on the agenda. So that's kind of how we flow it. It's pretty structured, but we try to like make moves within the structure so that all voices can be heard. Thank you and welcome to Ivcn. Ariel, you're next.
Hi, my name is Ariel Bornay with the UCSB Police Department. I have a few announcements, but I'm on the agenda, so I'll hold most of them. The one I'll say right now is that Justin Schroeder is not available today. He wanted to pass along that he is at bomb training, so he's learning how to defuse bombs. It's a gig that he applied for a little while ago and got. But I have him on my second phone here, and if you have any questions for him, I could text him, and he'll be able to answer you via text through me. So that is my announcement.
Thanks, Ariel. Next we have Jackie. Oops. Someone's loud.
Hey, Jackie Curta here. Haven't seen you all for a while, so I'm happy to be joining you. I'm with the UCSB Alcohol and Drug Program, and I have no news, and I'm just happy to listen in. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. Sorry, it keeps repopulating as people are calling in. Next is Ash.
Hello, I'm Ash. They, them, or he, him. I'm in Eco Vista and Food Not Bombs. Good to see you all. That's it.
Thank you, Ash. Bianca?
Hi, everyone. I'm Bianca Orozco with Standing Together to End Sexual Assault, and I don't have any updates.
Thanks, Bianca. Sorry. Next is Leonore.
Hi, everyone. Leonore with the St. George Youth Center YMCA.
And Diana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Puente, the Interim Director of Community Affairs, Student Development, and Leadership for Associated Students.
Who is on the Galaxy S20? Would you like to introduce yourself? Woo, surprise person.
Hi,
How
sorry,
about Gary? Oops, sorry.
Here I am. Sorry. It's Katerina Zamora from the county alcohol and drug program. And no announcement.
Cool. Thank you for calling in, Katerina.
Thank you.
Yes. How about Gary? Gary, can you hear me? Oh, there he comes.
Okay, sorry about that. Gary Gaston, UCPD Community Outreach Team. I'm back, fresh off quarantine. Happy to be here. Hello.
Welcome back. How about George?
Hi there, everybody. George Thurlow, UCSB. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Jay?
I'm Jay Freeman, Isla Vista Community Service District and the Goleta Valley Library Advisory Commission, representing neither today, and very tired.
Understandably. How about Jeremy?
Jeremy Mark, psychologist, volunteer with Food Not Bombs, food co-op board member, and also member of the Methodist Church, not representing any of those today.
Awesome. And Julia.
Hi, my name is Julia. I use they them pronouns. I'm with Food Not Bombs and Bonfire.
Awesome. Thanks for calling. And Kim.
Hi, folks. Kim Equinoa from UCSB Dean of Students Office.
And Kirsten.
Hi there, Kirsten Deschler, UCSB Government Relations.
And Lori.
Hi, Lori Goodman. Here, I'll turn my camera on. Isla Vista Youth Projects. I do have a couple quick announcements. One is that our Family Resource Center is providing food by appointment on Thursdays. And that's continuing, but it's now only 1 day per week. We see about 100 families on those Thursdays. And we also are working on plans to reopen our Children's Center starting on July 20th with a kindergarten preparedness 4-week session, and then to fully reopen on August 19th.
Wow, that's exciting.
Terrifying.
And terrifying. Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but you did. Next is Mark.
Everyone, Mark Fuchsovich, he, him, his. I'm a passionate resident, but also a student and the upcoming chair of the Public Safety Commission. My announcement is that this tomorrow, I'm working with some AS senators to do a survey that is basically the premise of which is if you had a magic wand, what would you change about Isla Vista and UCSB? And yes, I'm trying to get great ideas that I would have never thought of, but I'm also trying to get people that are really passionate, because I think sometimes the people in these spaces are overworked and doing so many things and working so diligently on them that I would like to find personnel who can also have passion outside of this space and really involve them more. And that's kind of that project. And once that survey is made, I would appreciate anyone's help sharing that as far as wide to both students and to residents in Isla Vista. Thank you so much. That's it for me.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Feel free to send it to the network email and we can pop it out on the Facebook also. That sounds cool. Thanks, Mark. How about Naomi? Oh, can we hear you? I can't hear you. Can anybody hear Naomi? Is it just me?
Sorry.
No.
Hi.
Oh, that works.
Okay, that's weird. I didn't do anything different. I'm Naomi Kovacs. I'm with 3rd District County Supervisor Joan Hartman's office.
Awesome. Next is Omari.
Hello, everyone. Omari Pryor, UCSB's Alcohol and Drug Program. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And Rodney?
Hello, everybody. My name is Rodney Gould, and I'm the Isla Vista Community Advisor for Associated Students.
Fantastic. And how about Spencer?
Hi, everyone. Spencer Brandt. I'm the president of the Isla Vista CSD.
Awesome. And Viviana?
Hello, everybody. Viviana Marzano, Office of Student Life at UCSB.
Great. And how about Yasmin?
Hi everyone, Yasmin from Associated Students EVPLA, and I can give my update since during the actual meeting since AS is on the agenda.
Awesome, thank you. And how about Lisa, who just called in, I think.
Hi, this is Lisa from the Food Co-op Board of Directors.
And finally, Luis. Luis, are you on? See you secretly at the bottom.
Can someone in the back office pick up George on line 1, please? Someone.
Sorry. Okay, well, maybe Luis can't hear, but that's okay. I see him from IVRPD on. Did I miss anybody? A lot of people called in.
Sorry, I couldn't hear for a second. Luis from
That's
Isla
okay.
Vista Recreation Park District.
Thanks for calling. Did everybody? Oh, Savannah, I think I missed you in there. Oh, there she is. Savannah, are you there still? Okay, well, in theory, Savannah from the
My
Carl
connection's
Center is
pretty
also-
bad.
Oh, you got here. Oh, sorry. Okay. But you're there, and we know that you're there. Thank you for calling in.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh. Come in. Okay. Anybody else that I missed on the list? We have about 30 people on the call today, which is awesome. Great.
Natasha to the back office.
Co-op is open. Sorry about that. Okay, so moving forward, thank you all for calling in and taking the time. Admittedly, we sent out this old version of the agenda for our new iteration kind of late, and so apologies if you're surprised to see yourself back on the regular agenda. I just want to present, as I did in the email, that this is a format that Ivcn was running with for a lot of years. This particular agenda and who is showing up on this agenda is just something that was developed over time because we noted the consistency and required continuity of some of these updates from these constituents in our community that bring really important information to share. That said, of course, as a network, we try to be considerate of other people's time. And if others want to get onto the agenda moving forward, especially for the second meeting of the month, to have a little bit of a longer update, please shoot me an email. We definitely aren't trying to do things the way we've done them just because we have. This does, though, feel like a structure that seems useful for the ongoing larger conversations once a month. And then the idea is that the weekly meetings will continue and we will use those subsequent weekly meetings to better develop conversations we've been happening over the past few months, but within a little bit more timeline alignment. So for example, next week, Jonathan will be the facilitator as coming off of the IVCSD meeting. So rather than asking for updates each week about progress on things like the IVCSD working group, we'll rather than place it onto an agenda that's more logical because there'll have been a meeting and then an update can happen. So hopefully that can move forward feeling pretty good to the network. Of course, we'll take feedback as we evolve our process. And hopefully for today, this feels good to kind of relaunch. Temperature check, feeling okay about the agenda? Thumbs up, don't care that much. Nodding heads, great, thank you.
Could you post it to the chat room again really quick? Is there someone who can post it to the chat room?
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, and I see updates, thank you. Sorry, I had my chat closed.
When it's a good time, I can read
Anybody?
the FNB quick update.
Yeah, that is great.
Get it out now,
Actually,
or?
do you want to read it now while I see if I can format this to post? I just have a PDF, and so I can make it shareable differently. So if you want to go, I can do that while we're doing
So
it. Thanks, Ash.
the Food Not Bombs quick update is we're serving vegan meals in paper-based containers on Sunday and Wednesday again at 5 p.m. We might stop by Little Acorn Park, which is our traditional spot, but we want to discourage gatherings. So you might also find us walking around that area, Anasquio, in that area, Central Ivy Parks. We're only allowing 3 cooks at a time, so we cannot accept extra volunteers right now, unfortunately. Thank you.
And I cannot move fast enough to get the agenda. If anybody has a way to break a PDF onto the chat, I don't have the Word document accessible because I did it at home last night, actually. So it's also in your email. I sent out the update email last night. So if you get the Ivcn updates, I can also resend it for anybody. Sorry about that, Jeremy. Not as easy
No,
as
that's
I
okay. I'll find it in the email.
Okay, thank you. So the first thing on the agenda that I have now closed, sorry guys. So the first item on today's agenda is regarding our community conversations around COVID. And my PDF is reopening. We're having internet trouble today. I'm so sorry. If anybody has this more accessible and wants to read the agenda item, this is slowly opening. It's just not our day. Well, in any case, we've been having ongoing conversations. Oops, sorry.
The agenda's in the chat now.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. So the first bit of our agenda, we have about 10 minutes left for it, is around our ongoing coronavirus conversations. We felt like it was important to leave this on the weekly call. Obviously, we're in kind of like a round 2 uptick, or maybe it's the original uptick through the community. So we wanted to just offer some time for updates from anybody on the call that has anything relevant to add for the network to know about. Does anybody have anything specific in their COVID planning? If we have any other businesses on the call, Lori gave a great update about the reopening of the Children's Center. And so if there's any reopenings planned, I think that this group would be a great group to share things with.
I have a quick update. With the beloved community is releasing a press release about the mass distribution that we're doing, and just encouraging people to also stay at home and practice social distancing. The EVPLA office is also going to start another round of publicizing campaign for the masks, because not a lot of people are picking them up at Pardall Center. And I think it could use an extra push again.
That'll be great. We, the co-op has actually given out several thousand reusable masks by now, but we are going through crap tons of single-use masks also. So what we're thinking is that a lot of folks are not remembering to like bring their mask out with them necessarily. And so we just ordered 2,000 more masks because we've gone through so many. And so we definitely gratefully support anybody's outward conversations about like remembering to bring your mask when you go out. Like, remember when reusable grocery bags weren't yet a thing, but now like everybody brings their bags. We wish that everybody would like bring their masks and maybe not their reusable bags. So thanks AS and also Health and Wellness for us for sharing in this mask task, if you will. It's a good update. Any other updates around COVID?
Yeah, I'm wondering, there's been a lot of talk about the mask distribution and also new food service programs. I'm wondering if we can, I mean, we've in the past tried to have kind of a list of food programs. I wonder if there's a stationary point where we could keep a running list of those. Like, I don't know, I don't think Ivcn, we don't have a website, but we have the oh, maybe Jonathan's got this. Is that what that's for, Jonathan?
Yeah, we made this like 3 months ago, so it has all. It maybe it needs to be updated, so check it out if you know of anything that's missing or out of date. But it has all the COVID-19 resources, including food.
Okay, so that would be a good thing for everybody to keep updating you. Then and there was someone with the CSD that would keep that page updated. Then also.
We can keep it updated, but you know we need people's help to get all this information since we don't know.
Information, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think it doesn't only have to be, I mean, we could take that document and we can like post it more outwardly through Ivcn if that feels useful. I also think the food.ucsb website, it's not only giving out resources for students, and I definitely encourage folks to look at it. It's a really robust resource page on their website. And if there's a, we can print out the CSD list also for the co-ops community boards. That's really, really easy, and those do get frequented a lot. So I'm happy to offer that physical zone outside of the store also with updates, which is a great idea. Fantastic. Are there any other orgs that want to offer a COVID update?
I would just say it's probably really good to check at least weekly or more often if you want the county's website. There's a lot of resources there, and then it also has all the current stats. I think, as everybody knows, they don't update the numbers over the weekend, but they do update the numbers every day otherwise, and it breaks it down by the areas of the county, and then on Monday they catch up for the weekend. So it's a good resource. And if you have clients or anybody, coworkers, anybody who has COVID questions, it's a great resource. So there's also a county call line. The number is on the county's website that you can call with any COVID related questions, and they'll point you in the right direction. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Naomi. Fantastic.
I don't have as much of an update as I just wanted to, I guess, spark a conversation. In light of the recent weekend and how much activity there was, how many parties there were, I'm growing a little concerned. We've seen in other college communities, such as Berkeley, where there's been a huge spike in cases associated with students throwing parties. And for those who know me know that I'm always one of the quickest people to rush to defend the ability of our residents to socialize and have a good time in a safe manner. But now during the pandemic, it's not the right time for that. So I think, I just want to put out the call to everyone in this group to think about how, if anyone has ideas on how to better message the importance of continuing to physically and social distance during this time, because there were some pretty concerning sights when I was walking around out there on July 4th. And I guess secondly, I would also ask law enforcement if how they're responding to this new uptick in people flaunting social distancing rules.
So can I jump in for a sec? This is Jackie Curda. So one of the thoughts I had, I share the concerns, and I also want to say that we're also about helping students, socialize well, socialize safely, and so it's not about shutting things down. It's about doing them properly. Maybe it is about shutting things down. I should take that back for a sec, but it's definitely about being safe. One of the thoughts I had, and I've chatted about this with a few people, is the possibility of UCIV being reinvigorated in some fashion to be a kind of a safety team from a student perspective out in Isla Vista wearing masks, perhaps again in groups of 3 or 4, if we can make sure that they are safe. And just having them be kind of a safety patrol that not just on weekends and evenings, but also during the days, perhaps, to send out the message and role model the safety practices that we'd love to see the students, take seriously. So I know I've chatted with Rodney about it a little bit, and also mentioned it up at the Vice Chancellor's Student Affairs Office. So I think if we were able to put something like that into play, that I think students, if we could find a way to even compensate students for their time, I think there may be a way to go out to the community, to some business leaders who have supported UCIB back in the day that they first got started, to see if maybe there could be some support for students to take on this role in the Isla Vista community. And happy to talk to any folks about that.
If I could just respond to that, this is Mark of the Public Safety Commission. UCIV is an entity that falls under the Public Safety Commission. And I think, and I've also, by the way, I should add that I did see your email to Rodney, that, until we get the Public Safety Commission up and running, which I think I primarily want to do through this survey, so I can get more and more people involved, because Right now, it's a 2-person organization. I think that's going to be my first step to getting there. But I just wanted to let you know that that is on my radar, and it is a goal. It's just, to me, it's I'm just not there yet, if I can just be honest.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
Hey, just responding to Spencer's question. Right now, we are happy to say that on campus, we haven't had any types of parties or any major concerns. We are getting, maybe 1 to 2 calls a day from people who are concerned that there's a group that's not practicing social distancing. Our current model and approach has been voluntary compliance through education. So we will approach the group and just educate them on, hey, it's expected that you wear a mask, practice social distancing, and we've been largely successful in that. I know in Isla Vista, it's been a little bit of a different story. I'm texting Justin right now about it. He's saying they tried the same approach, but they're not getting the same response in Isla Vista. He said people are blowing them off. And obviously, voluntary compliance is ideal. And through education is the ideal way to do it. So I think I could speak on behalf of Justin in saying we would accept any recommendations you have. Right now, we're just doing one-on-one speaking to the specific violators or their houses. But if you have other educational campaigns or flyers or whatever that you want to suggest, or you have pre-existing ones that you want us to promote on our social media, feel free to email myself or Justin, and I'll put our email addresses in the chat.
Thank you all for that. Is there anything? Sorry, is there anything within? I did see that email that the Beloved Community sent out, and there is, I don't know if anybody's seen the beautiful signs that have been posted on the entries to Isla Vista. So there is some really cool visual moments taking place. And I just wonder, we're getting the KCSB daily COVID updates, and I know there was more targeted Isla Vista data in a few of them, and I haven't seen specific case numbers showing on that. Like, it's more of like a lump with the rest of the community. And I'm wondering if there's anything of an impact as we keep looking at Isla Vista reported cases as like a breakout, so that it can keep coming back to home in a way. I'm not not using fear to like fearmonger people, but the reality that it's very like real and here. So I don't know if maybe I missed something in those last updates I've seen, but if there's still dedicated IV statistics, maybe that's helpful to share. I don't know who would share it, but
if you go to the county website, they break it down by area, and Isla Vista had 1 case for months, and then now we're up to 26 cases over the last couple of weeks. So it is definitely growing in Isla Vista.
it's interesting thinking about, and yeah, I think I was looking at the KCSB update that it's not giving that IV number. And so is there an opportunity, like who is that voice of Isla Vista to share information like that? I don't know if that's something, I don't know the answer to it, but it just feels like making sure that our community understands that it's imminent and that it's here, and that, especially for workers and essential workers, like it's still really, nothing really ever changed. Like if anything for us at the co-op, it's almost more stressful than ever before, in part because of the lack of care happening in some places around the community. So who's the voice for that besides like cranky lady that runs the co-op, like who ends up being these shared, and like law enforcement, everybody's darling right now, right? Like who helps share these messages? I mean, the peer-to-peer conversation feels really interesting in the UCIV path. And that's just something we can keep talking about in future meetings as we navigate.
Yeah, I really like that thinking there, because it's another one of these things where it's like, okay, this sounds like a public health information outreach problem. I know who we will use. We will use police officers to do public health outreach problem. It's just okay, I guess, sure.
So maybe there's something in that, and like as we're weaving and evolving conversations in general around community care, we have these really, it's like real life time right now, where we're having this moment where it's like, how do you share information when it doesn't necessarily have to be from the voice of law enforcement trying to like enforce masks, So as we move forward through our IVCNs upcoming, I think that perhaps this becomes one of these cool little nuggets that helps us move forward and how we're sharing in these big conversations about who should be called and how do you have that resource available when you just want to make a public health outreach moment and how to do that best. So it's a big thing to unpack, but it's an interesting conversation to be having.
Yeah, like people who are having parties might not follow the food co-op and UCPD on social media. Do we know who they do follow and like who they would listen to? And can we reach out to them? But I don't know the answer, but
it also makes me wonder, as you're saying that, what does the Ivy Clinic see as its potential role for maybe being one of the folks that communicate some of this information? And if they don't have an existing method by which they do that, maybe that's just a conversation about how to support them developing a strategy for being able to get that information out.
Really interesting idea. And Ash, I'm glad that you brought it up. That's actually a really good example because thinking about, and Dion and I were talking about this as we're kind of like deconstructing Isla Vista through the IVCN lens. Like, what are these little nuggets of community here and how do they all communicate? And like, where do we see these moments of connection or where there's not connecting happening? And that can be thread through a lot of different conversations we're having. But I love the idea of really considering where maybe, you know, parties is one example. I'm like, yeah, where do we information share that? Like, is that a great opportunity for the clinic? Is there something that Pan Hellenic can do to help if there's still parties happening over in sororities and frat houses? I don't know enough if that's happening, but this is really cool thinking. Okay.
Kirsten had a great idea in the chat about putting an electronic street sign in Ivy, you know, listing the cases. I think that'd be awesome. Does the university have one that they would loan us?
Sorry, I don't know. I can ask. I just come up with the ideas, Rodney.
Parking services. Parking services has those with the lights. That's what you are saying, Rodney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they generally put them up when I have the gift sale. So
yeah, I'll be happy to ask.
So I had that idea, and like honestly, Kristen, I'm sitting here thinking, what if we could just like blast the case numbers, and then you just said the idea, and we actually can. There's so few entrances really into Isla Vista. That could actually be a thing that happens. It'd be an interesting approach to take to really show the reality. Probably couldn't really hurt anything. That's cool.
You could have different businesses post it, you know, by their front doors. And that way you're covering students who go to different, or residents who go to different types of businesses.
You know, this is Katerina. This is Katerina. In Santa Maria, we have very high numbers, as you all know. And what the city did, which is really inspiring, is they have these sandwich boards. They're a little bit wider than a regular sandwich boards, and those are like, they're little street signs that you can put on the sidewalks. And actually that might have to go through the county. I'm not certain, but it is very educational. They're putting it on the main streets of Santa Maria, so people are actually using them, and it's an actual picture of a mask and a face. It's just a blank face, but with the mask on, and it says, please wear your mask. And they have them in both Spanish and in English, and I think they're very, very helpful. It's just an idea.
Awesome. I think getting some of these best practices, especially from within our own county, makes a lot of sense right now, especially if they're being effective. It might be also that Isla Vista is so special that we have to think, like, yes to sandwich boards. We have a few popping up, and like, what else can we be doing? So maybe it's a combination of like a digital campaign plus analog, say digital analog.
I think you're totally right. And I would just highlight for everyone, I think many people have heard our public health officer say this, but COVID cases are spreading because of close contact between people in private gatherings. That is the number one way that people are getting this disease. It's not because you walked into, you know, a laundromat or, you know, a convenience store and, you know, touched a surface that was contaminated. That's less common than it is people, you know, gathering in private. And so I feel like our messaging should try to focus around that as much as possible, just because that's where I see, at least as a resident here, the most of the issues occurring and most of the concerning behavior. And it's a tricky thing to navigate, right? Because on one hand, I totally understand people's urge to, you know, the quarantine fatigue and wanting to socialize during one of the most social times of our lives. But at the same time, we've got to instill that perspective in people. So that's my 2 cents.
That's a really important perspective. So I just want to do a time check.
Okay.
Sorry, really quick. We're at 12:40, and we did try to build an agenda, so I just wanted to present that. And if anybody has an update, like, do we feel okay running this a couple more minutes and then moving to updates, or do we want to roll into updates? A couple more minutes here, maybe. Let's finish this, and then we'll move into updates. Okay, so sorry, Naomi, I interrupted. I'm trying to keep time.
I was just going to say that I think that the comment about you know, the quarantine burnout and people wanting to connect is really a very strong force. My niece, who goes to USC, and she's from up north, but she goes to USC. She's living down there with her supposed pod of quarantine roommates. And I just found out from my sister that she was in IV for 4th of July weekend. Didn't call me, of course, but she felt like she really needed to get out, and she thought she could just, and so, and she is a really responsible, smart young woman. And yet so my sister, of course, had a long talk with her, and she's like, I know, but I just really, we tried to do it safely, and we just really needed to get out. And so even smart, educated, well-meaning young adults are succumbing to, I think, that need for connection and to be with people, and then they make stupid choices. So it's hard. So I think seeing it more and having, you know, stores and street signs and things, I think is a good idea, because it kind of just like keeps it there. It reminds you, and maybe makes it a little harder to not wear your mask if there's signs all around it, and to be not social distancing if there's signs all around about it. So, but I think that fatigue and draw to social connection is a tough thing to battle.
The social, it's really, I've noticed it too, even in my own sphere. I was up in Pismo Beach the other weekend for my partner's birthday, and it was packed in Pismo Beach. Nobody was wearing masks. And it was like, I wanted to put my mask on, but then I was like the one person in all of Pismo Beach like wearing a mask, and it's kind of awkward. And so I can see it, how that reverberates right through, especially in IV, where I went to college here. It was already enough before COVID to sometimes feel like you fit in and have your place. So I can see all of these challenges of like the social parts. It seems like we'll have an opportunity through our own community anecdotes and peer-to-peer anecdotes and story sharing to probably make this become something more close to home, and that it becomes less of a story about somewhere else, and that the story, which is unfortunate, but as we see COVID growing in Isla Vista, it's not somebody else's story anymore, it's our story too. And so there might be something in that can become more impactful in how we story share. I don't know.
Get some of the COVID positive IV people, you know, those who have tested positive, to share their story. Put a face on it.
Yes, exactly. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, like that exact thing, like trying to get into profiles and sharing that level so that there can be that peer understanding, like, oh, it can happen and it has happened and here we are. So I'm all about that way of thinking about it. Okay. Does it feel like a good transition to go into updates, knowing that we'll just keep this conversation up? Obviously, it's really important, and we'll keep it on through the weeks. And if anybody in the interim before next week's meeting has an update, or if we do decide like, hey, these digital signs, but the chat seems to like the street signs idea, maybe that's an idea and maybe we try it. There's no harm in trying ideas to gain awareness. There's not a perfect plan anywhere in this country right now for this, so who be it for us to not try creative Isla Vista solutions. Okay, so moving forward now into law enforcement. So I guess if we can just shrink updates to more like 5 minutes a piece, if we can do that, or we can run a little late if anybody wants to start.
Thanks, Melissa.
But starting with law enforcement, yeah, go for it.
Hi. Like I said, Justin's not here. He doesn't appear to have any updates right now. I just want to point out that what we just witnessed is community policing in action. You know, a problem was brought to the police and the community immediately jumped in and said, let's figure out what's the best resource to actually solve this problem. And that was a beauty to watch. That was like textbook. So we are super happy to be a part of this organization, and we love the way you all work and the passion you have. What I'm going to spend my time talking about today is the announcement made by ICE. First and foremost, we just want to recognize if there are any international students on this call that we understand the pain and fear that you're going through. We are for you. We're not against you. We want you to see us as a resource. We met with the Office of International Students and Scholars yesterday to try to figure out what we can do to help with this scenario. And the feedback we got is that a lot of international students have an immense amount of fear around law enforcement because they think we work directly with ICE and they think we're going to deport them even for minor traffic infractions, you know, beer ticket or whatever. And so I'm here today just to say on behalf of the UCSB Police Department, that is not at all what we are about. That's not what we do here. That's not what we have ever done here. Our mission is to create a safer learning environment for our students. And you are one of our students, and we love you and we care about you. And we would love to have dialogue, or we would love for you to just know that our focus and our goal is making sure that this is a safe space for you to learn. And that is it. When the chancellor releases emails, when the Office of International Students releases emails, those are organizations that speak on our behalf, just straight up, flat out. We are in line with the messaging that they are putting out. The chancellor speaks directly for our department. The Office of International Students is a direct partner that we work with regularly. And so any messaging they're putting out, we agree with. And so you never have to guess what our stance is on this. I already put our my email in the chat, but I will also put my whole team's email in the chat. If you have questions specifically about law enforcement, if laws are different here, or what you can do to avoid interacting with law enforcement, feel free to message us, and we'll tell you exactly what's the best way to do that. But like I said, I'll end my time, but I just want to stress that we are not ICE. We do not work directly with ICE. We do not call them. We do not notify them. We don't do anything even remotely resembling that. We've all been explicitly instructed not to. So we are a university department, and the chancellor speaks on our behalf when it comes to our stance and the pain that we're feeling as you experience the panic and pain that you're feeling right now. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Any questions for Ariel after that? Awesome. Do we have any update from any other law enforcement on the call? Clear. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you for staying in your allocated tinier window. And also I will say thank you for what you said about community policing and this like process that we're engaging in of this type of like shared problem solving. We did not call law enforcement when our bench got stolen the other day, even though part of me was like, I don't want to deal with this. I could just make this phone call and somebody else will handle it. But whereas the bench did not come back, we really did want to make an effort for community engaged process first. And so that, you know, became an important next step as part of our work to figure out in our community what healthy, caring community can look like. So still no bench, but you know, okay. Moving into third district report, we have Naomi on the call. We would like to give some updates.
I don't really have much update. I was going to touch on the same thing that Ariel did, which is the whole new ICE regulations. And I just want to share that Supervisor Hartman is, you know, really concerned about that. And definitely is supportive of the international students and plans to write a letter to DHS about it. And we haven't done that yet, but we will. And we really stand with the international students. So that's really the only thing I really want to touch base about.
Thank you, Naomi. Any questions for Naomi about that, or any questions about other county things while we have her? Okay. Does anybody on the network feel like there's more to discuss around this shift with ICE and potential impacts to our community? Is there more of a conversation to have there, more possible support through Ivcn? I'm not sure about this. I'm not knowledgeable so much on this topic, so.
There is some concern, and our office is starting to look into it, about international students with leases and what that means to them if they need to leave and break their lease. Are they going to be responsible for 12 months of rent that they can't stay for, or are they going to be penalized in some way? So I know we're starting to look into that, and that's a concern. And so that, immediately affects IV residents because there's many international students that live in IV.
Well, and I think I just read that there's a shift to the role of the legal advisor. The IVTU Robin's position had to change, so she's now not able to offer even legal advice, I think. So that'll be interesting if there's resources for these students in IAV to help support them.
If anybody, at least right now, if anyone does run into students who have questions, I would just recommend, at least at this point, and if we get more information or better resources, I'll share it. But Legal Aid Foundation, they're a good resource, and they will give some free advice. And if they I just did a webinar from them last week, and it was very detailed. And it was about evictions during COVID and what is and isn't allowed and all that. But I would imagine that they would be a good resource for students who have questions about this.
Okay, so the Legal Aid Foundation. Thanks, Naomi. Any other thoughts on this before we move forward?
Melissa, this is Kirsten. I just want to say there's a lot of federal legislative advocacy around this issue, tons of support letters happening in Congress. They're looking at legislation to tack language onto. So this is a very, very dynamic issue with tremendous amounts of higher education engagement. And I did post in the chat that UC has filed a lawsuit against DHS joining MIT and Harvard. So again, super dynamic issue. The ruling doesn't go into effect until the 15th. But anyways, I just want to let you know there's a lot of engagement. Carbajal is involved, Brownlee is involved. That's all.
Thank you. It's not in my exact wheelhouse, so it's super great that we have such high-level resources on this call to help share this information. And you can see it in the chat. There's a link that will give more info. Yeah, seems like another really short-sighted idea that didn't really, not so fleshed out. And here we are jumping through the hoops.
Melissa, if I could, Gary with UCPD, our community outreach team is committed to helping people if they're dealing with stresses regarding this issue, to please have them reach out to us just so they have a clear understanding. It's one thing to hear a third party from other people, but sometimes just sitting down and having a face-to-face helps in just kind of putting the minds at ease that, again, we reiterate the message, we do not work with ICE. So that's it, thank you.
Does law enforcement, or does UCPD have, I mean, I don't know how that works, like can you make a post like that? Is that like weird to be like, can you social media post that you're not associated? I don't know if that's like how that information is best shared. Like, do we feel like saying, hey, you should reach out to UCPD to have a face-to-face, inherently knowing that maybe someone's not so comfortable?
Yeah, I would refer them to that community outreach email. I have had a few people that we were able to meet with regarding DACA and we have gone to some of the OISS meetings just to try to hear what they have to say and ensure that they're understanding what it is that we do and what it is that we don't do. So I think it's probably best to have a conversation about it as opposed to do a post, given the type of platform that we only have an Instagram account. So we do have a website, but yeah, it might be better just to get the message through personal interaction.
That makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
And Melissa,
And yes.
and I would just jump in terms of the question about the IBTU and LRC and the attorney, just to let you all know that that is still being worked on. But in the midst of it, folks are still encouraged to reach out to Isla Vista Tenants Union with any tenants issues. They're continuing to provide case management and tenant education. So don't want people to feel like there is no longer an IBTU or an LRC office.
Thank you for clarifying that. I honestly, I saw this story yesterday and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And so having that clarity is really, really good. Thank you. Okay.
I had a question about the undocumented worker. I know at one point Sheriff Brown was actually fighting back on not working with ICE. Do we happen to know where that stands for the Sheriff Department? Anybody?
Hi, I'm texting.
Sure, I can look into that.
Oh, I think Ariel also was talking.
Yeah, I'm texting Justin Schroeder from the Sheriff's Department right now.
Awesome.
Thanks.
I would just say one of the Black Lives Matter Santa Barbara demands of the Sheriff's Office is that they end their cooperation with ICE, if that's any context.
Okay, so Spencer, I didn't totally hear what you said, and if everybody else did. My internet.
I missed it too.
Yeah,
So
Spencer, can you repeat what you said? Sorry.
Sure, I was just saying one of the Black Lives Matter Santa Barbara demands of the Sheriff's Office is that they end their cooperation with ICE.
So hopefully we'll see some follow-up from that very clear demand, and we'll see if Ariel gets some info. I see him talking to somebody, maybe Justin. In the interest of time, maybe we move forward to the AS update so we can get everything in and we can just get that reply when Ariel has more info. Does that sound good? Okay. Does Yasmin or somebody else from AS want to take it away?
Yeah, so the AS execs and I are having a meeting tomorrow about what we can do to respond to student demands in regards to law enforcement. The Black students and faculty that had a panel a few weeks ago to discuss what they would like to see are coming up with a list of demands today, I believe. And we're going to be talking about those demands and how we could respond to them. And about the spread of corona that we were talking about, I could definitely reach out to IFC and CDC and try to meet with their leaders. And I know that they're not responsible for all the social gatherings that are happening, but I think it would be a good conversation to have with them. As I mentioned, the Beloved Community Messaging campaign is also happening about the masks and the stickers that we ordered. And we're going to be sending out letters, hopefully, to tenants about encouraging them to stay at home. And in regards to the ICE conversation, we also had a meeting about that. I think it's really important to keep in mind what information we share when it comes to that, because I believe Berkeley and NYU were sharing like 1 unit courses, and that ended up being problematic a little bit, that ICE was getting on top of that and not letting that happen, I think. And so it's really important for us to actually know what's happening in regards to the legal matters before we share any information, so that we're not actually taking chances away from the international students. That's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, let me know.
Hi. So I just got off the phone with Justin Schroeder from the Sheriff's Office. He says, as far as he understands, there is no plans in place. There's no tactical anything to enforce any type of immigration. He was like, there's an area where he could see that happening. I already put his email in the chat. He encouraged you to reach out if you have like a more specific question, but he was like, what? No, why? Why would we do that? And so, but feel free to reach out directly, and I'm sure he could also put you in contact with Juan Camarena, who'd probably be able to answer more specific questions on behalf of the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, Ariel. Are there any questions to follow up from Yasmin? Or if anybody else from AS who's on the call has updates?
Not for Yasmin. I just wanted to, well, I actually don't want to jump into the conversation about county and ICE because I think it is a really nuanced conversation. I think there's a lot of layers to where that relationship happens. And I don't think it's at the level of sheriff's office implementation, but it's more about the conversations that are happening once folks have been are under detention and the kind of sharing of information that happens at that point when folks are about to be released, and the ability for ICE to get that information about people in detention. So there's, I want to just say, I think there's just a lot of layers to that conversation.
I don't even know what to say. Yes. We get ourselves, and like at 12:59, we sure get ourselves just right in at the end. These are really important conversations this is why we're doing weekly meetings. Back to Yasmin's great update, I just want to appreciate how you are presenting so many rad, like multi-stakeholder connecting pieces in the Ivcn. It's some of the greatest work of AS, I think, when we have EVPLA reps that are coming in with so many updates from bridge work that you're doing, because it helps us see how the network grows, right? And so that's pretty cool. I appreciate the idea of thinking through from the student perspective some of the, those nodes of information sharing. I think you said IYC. I don't know what those. I'm so tired, you guys. I'm sorry. I don't know what that stood for, but if it feels helpful, maybe it's a yes, right? Like the most small that can go big, right? What were those places you were talking about?
CPC and IFC, so it's sororities and fraternities.
While you're there, can you ask about our bench? I'm just kidding. I'm halfway kidding. Yeah, it feels helpful to think about more of those places to go to disseminate information. So thank you for bringing that up. Does anybody else have any questions about those updates or any other questions for AS right now? Okay. In the silence, we'll call it success, and hopefully everybody had their fulfillment of Ivcn for the week. I see a couple asked to go on the distro list. Please add that to the chat. I'll copy and paste out from the chat if you want to be on the email list. And if there's anything you want to see on the upcoming agenda, feel free to shoot us an email. I'm grateful for everybody for calling in, and hopefully we got through the agenda well enough today.
I have a brief question, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I was wondering at what meetings in the future that it would be on the agenda to discuss the idea of a neighborhood watch or community-based restorative justice.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. Oops, excuse me. So with the new structure that we're thinking about for Ivcn, it would be actually a whole week would be dedicated. And so timing-wise, we were, because IVCSD had their monthly meeting next week, we thought it'd be a great bridge. So Jonathan will actually be our facilitator next week, and he'll be able to offer direct updates from the IVCSD meeting, also in terms of the anti-police brutality, anti-racism working group. And so that we felt like that would actually feed a more rich conversation next week. And so part of what we'll email out between this week and next week is sort of this refreshed idea of structure for Ivcn that will probably give you even more specific ideas of how that could look. It's not defined fully, we're just thinking of ideas, but yeah, so for next week's meeting, we're hoping to go a little bit more deep into that with having a little more time to actually get more community meetings to happen and more integration, so we can actually have our time together be more meaningful when we talk about it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, so we talked about next week.
Yeah, we'll have the IVCSD as a weaving in part, and then we can definitely, the idea is it kind of is all threading together, and so we wanted to just let that be how the rest of the month went along.
Awesome.
So you'll see us, check your email because we'll be sharing a little bit more of that meat between this and next week.
Perfect. Thank you.
Still realizing, yeah, thank you for asking, and we're definitely evolving these ideas. So you will be a part of this decision making as we move forward also. Any other questions before I close out? Perfect. And if you ask to be put on the distribution list, please send me your email privately or email ilovevistacommunitynetwork@gmail.com. Thank you all so much for calling and Jonathan for hosting, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Stay healthy.